Well, hello everyone. My name is Zachary O'Shea, and this, as always, is Box of Teeth. We're continuing this month with minions for the Universal Antagonist that I have been covering, so let's go ahead and jump into another one right now. As a reminder, this month we're covering the Lodge Master, his minions, and the like. The Lodge Master being an antagonist for your Dungeons & Dragons game, who is a demon that plagues the mortal world in the guise of an elderly gentleman who is known as a great hunter, a man's man, and a ladies' man. His purpose is to take the nobility and other rich children of the area, especially men, teach them a set of very toxic values, up into including becoming basically dark cultists and cannibals and transforming themselves into something a little more demonic, and then sending them out to ruin society from the top down. Today we're going to be covering one of his minions, which is the War Mask. But first I just want to remind you the 4 genres that he and his monsters cover, which are demonic horror, body horror, corruption horror, and class horror. The War Mask, as some of the previous entries, really leans mostly into demonic horror, in this specific one with a little trace of body horror as well. But in their origin, there is that corruption and class horror element. So let's go ahead and talk about them. Carved from bone and stained with the blood of the hunted and butchered, the War Mask depicts the representation of a snarling, horned beast not of this world. The construct floats along on a sulphurous cloud with strands of woven fur and feathers trailing behind it. Yellow orbs fill its eye holes when viewed from the front, but no trace of these organs can be seen from behind. The War Mask gaze fills with ecstatic intensity whenever prey is near. War Masks are really the hunting hounds, as it were, of the Lodge Master and his Lodge members. They are produced by the foolish mortals who are loyal to the Lodge Master. Its parts are taken from beasts, humanoids, and monstrosities that the Lodge members slay. Through a prolonged and dark ritual, the fetishes are imbued with fiendish power and bound to unquestionably serve the organization. These constructs do this by magically marking the hunted and sharing that insight with nearby Lodge members. They can also manifest poison-tipped darts out of thin air to slow the prey down. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the War Mask statistics for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The War Mask is a challenge rating 1/2 tiny construct that is lawful evil because it has evil intent behind everything it does, but it does follow the laws and the orders of the Lodge. It doesn't actually have a movement speed, instead it has a fly speed with hover as well. As such, while it is immune to poison as a construct likely would be, it is also immune to the prone condition because it cannot be knocked down. It does have innate spell casting at will of Hunter's Mark, as one might expect from its description. And on top of that, it does have an action, which is its really big claim to fame, which is Mark Quarry. So it can share its Hunter's Mark with a Lodge member that is within 30 feet of it. This effect ends when the spell's duration ends or when the War Mask is destroyed. On top of that, its only real attack is Spit Dart, which doesn't do a lot of damage. However, that dart, if it hits someone, they have to make a save, or they are under most of the effects of the slow spell for a short duration of time. Creatures that are immune to the poison condition are also immune to this additional effect of the damage. So they are kind of a body horror because of the weird disembodied eyes that are floating within the mask that aren't really there, which kind of lends it that nice demonic horror feel because of the sulfur around them, the fact there are some strange eyes that aren't really there, and the horrible demonic shape that they have, and they share some sort of evil connection to the Lodge members themselves. The class horror and corruption horror comes into play because of the backstory, that they're basically using the parts of those that the Lodge has culled and hunted down and tortured to death and sometimes cannibalized to make the War Mask. It just becomes part of that initiation that forever links the cultist to the cult, as it were, through their dark acts. I really enjoy the fact that War Mask can share its Hunter's Mark. I think that's kind of a neat idea because it makes another CR creature a little bit tougher in that regard, but then can be taken out. And it also makes its own Spit Dart attack a little bit better with the Hunter's Mark damage. If you enjoyed the War Mask, you can find it, along with the rest of the Lodge Master's minions and hundreds of other horror-themed monsters, all for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, that are all also perfectly free at boxofteeth.blogspot.com. If you're more interested in the non-Dungeons & Dragons projects that I have, or the horror fiction that I write that includes grease paint right here, it's got a killer clown, you can always go to www.zacharyoshea.com. As always, thank you for your time and your attention, and have a wonderful rest of the day.